It's been quite a while since E3, and I'm still absolutely floored at Metroid Dread getting announced. I wanted to get started on a deep dive as soon as I saw the trailer, but there's kind of an unwritten rule to analysis. The more that's shown, the less there is to find. And with Dread having two separate Treehouse segments, pretty much any question that could be derived from the trailer was answered. That's not to say there's nothing there, but it does mean I want to take a different approach. So I'll begin by covering the small details you might have missed before taking a closer look at all the story hints that have been provided so far in the hopes of deciphering exactly what Dread is all about. Because it's certainly more than what we've been told at this point. Let's dive in, shall we? The first Treehouse segment starts only a few minutes after the beginning of the game. Samus has made some progress, but nothing major has been uncovered, and that's important as she already has 15 missiles in her arsenal. Now, what's key here is that the Treehouse backtracks almost right away, revealing a block that needs to be destroyed by a missile and a missile recharge station. It's likely that Samus has access to missiles right away, but is empty until using the recharge station, allowing her to move forward and introducing the concept to new players. The only other time in 2D Metroid that Samus begins with missiles was Metroid 2, where they were vital to taking down the Metroids that she was tracking down. It's possible that that will be the case for Dread as well. Something requires these missiles. But Samus in general looks more prepared than ever as the Treehouse demonstrates that she already has the slide, while the counter and melee dash is soon introduced to players. And not long after, Samus wall jumps to higher ground. This is something she could do without upgrades in the past and puts these new moves in the same category as it. Basically, none of these are upgrades, which does push the idea that there won't be a scene where Samus loses her abilities this time around. Sure, she doesn't have everything, but that can be explained by the new suit, similar to how the introduction of the fusion suit made her start back at square one. But I have more to say about the suit in due time. More importantly, the Treehouse shows the new map for Dread, which features a number of upgrades that are sure to be useful. The biggest one is that Samus's path is now highlighted as a lighter shade, showing exactly what parts of a room the player has looked at and providing a possible hint of something that still needs to be checked. It's great for examining every nook and cranny for a secret, though that may not be as necessary this time around since the map will blink if there's a hidden item within. Interestingly, there's an option for a mission log, and though it's never shown, I don't believe Dread will be as guided as Fusion given the Treehouse's comments on Adam, who returns as Samus's AI helper, but is more about lore than instruction. So instead, I think the log will serve as a marker, reminding players of what needs to be done next. It's a lighter touch, at least hopefully. Otherwise, the opening area is known as Arteria, while the missile recharge station is marked with red, and the yellow square denotes either a communications room or a save room. The save room is much more grandiose than past save stations, with the Chozo statues looming over Samus. It almost feels ominous rather than safe, which could be purposeful based on the extra lore revealed in Metroid Samus Returns. Either way, there is a difference between the communications and save rooms as shown on the map later in this first Treehouse segment. The communications room is marked by what appears to be a reticle, while the save room shows a stacked arch. More important than that is how specific the map can be, as even water is marked, quickly indicating which paths are possible to traverse. After all, at this point, the Treehouse still didn't have the morph ball, so going back through the water was impossible. Even a missile marker is shown on the map where the path was divided thanks to collapsing the room. It requires less of the player to remember exactly what happened in which room, and these indicators could refresh them at a glance. I know it would be a big help for me. But it's the map room that reveals much more of what to expect in terms of exploration in Metroid Dread. A much wider view of Arteria is provided while also showing that a third yellow symbol will appear, this one featuring a triangle between two other symbols. What's odd is that this same symbol is elsewhere on the map, specifically a place that the Treehouse ran under earlier on, though that is marked red. From its appearance, it looks to be a recharge station of some kind, though it looks nothing like the missile station from before. The symbol on it looks like a power bomb, so maybe that's why it's red? Because Samus doesn't have power bombs yet? So does that mean the yellow one at the far right of the map recharges something Samus does have? I'm not exactly sure about any of this because it seems odd for two different types of stations to use the same symbol. What I do know is the areas where the E.M.M.I prowl are clearly marked on the map. The caverns of this planet are marked blue, while the ship-like areas, called E.M.M.I zones, are gray. At least in Artaria, it seems like there will be an even split between dealing with the E.M.M.I and exploring at your own pace. But what I like most about this is how much that exploration is emphasized. Yes, the map has more information than ever, but the map room doesn't even show what the caverns look like, only how far they extend. Exploration and actually visiting these places matter. Most everything else concerning Metroid Dread was discussed in the Treehouse, but there is one thing I want to mention from the second showcase. This confirmed that Ion abilities return, with the Phantom Cloak serving as one. But it also provided a look at Samus's ability screen, which provides clues to what she'll be able to do. At the top left, obscured by the Treehouse feed, is the beam list, which has room for 2 more. Below that is the missiles with room for 1 more, likely the super missiles. At the bottom are the Ion abilities, which should have enough space for 2, probably 3 more functions. On the bottom right is the miscellaneous section, which already lists the new Spider Magnet and typically features upgrades like the Morph Ball and Screw Attack. Those will likely be featured here, and there's enough room for 3 or 4 more upgrades. What's intriguing though is the wide gap between miscellaneous and suits. There's no indication of how many suits Samus will discover over the course of Dread, or even what might go between suits and miscellaneous. In the past, bombs and boots were listed on the screen as well, so those are likely candidates to appear. It's merely a taste of what to expect from the full game, but I do wonder how much will be new and how much will return. Or there could be more twists on classics like with the Spider Magnet, which is just a spider ball without curling into the Morph Ball. It allows Samus to better defend herself and keep the action close at hand. I'd love to see more like this that feeds on the idea of utility combined with versatility. As I said before, with the Treehouse covering so much, there's not a lot to say without essentially repeating information they've already given. Instead, I want to look into the story of Metroid Dread and try to piece together what we might expect from the clues provided so far. In order to do this though, I will have to spoil the ending of Metroid Fusion, and unfortunately, that ties into many of my Dread theories. So fair warning if you want to experience that game's story for yourself. Alright, so during the events of Fusion, Samus discovers that the BSL space station was home to the Federation's Metroid cloning operation in the hopes that they could be used for peaceful purposes. Not only that, but the Federation wanted to contain the X-parasites that had overrun the station in the hopes of doing the same with them. Samus, knowing the danger that both posed, destroyed the station and the Metroid homeworld of SR-388 in order to wipe both out. The game ends with her knowing that she'll be held responsible by the Federation for her actions, but Adam believes that at least one person will understand her reasoning. But the Federation's actual response is a mystery, serving as a sort of cliffhanger in regards to Samus's future. And now, with Metroid Dread, we know the Federation's response, and they're cool with it? The first volume of Nintendo's Metroid Dread reports features a recap from the perspective of Samus herself, presumably from the beginning of the game, as it also features images from the recap Nintendo has spoken of. In it, she mentions that the Federation received video footage from an unknown source indicating that the X-parasites still lived. In response, they dispatched a special unit of 7 E.M.M.I, or extraplanetary multiform mobile identifier robots, to the remote planet ZDR, believed to be the source of the transmission. But it wasn't long before the unit vanished, and now Samus has to investigate as she's the only one immune to the X-parasite. It's a good setup, but it's difficult for me to believe the whole of the Federation was okay with Samus destroying all of their experiments in Fusion and defying their orders completely. Somebody was invested in that research. Somebody wanted to use the Metroid in X, so it stands to reason that somebody would be furious at Samus. Adam's assertion that at least one person would hear her out has some merit, but the whole of the Federation? No, it's too easy. And that's why what Nintendo's shown so far of Metroid Dread seems like one big elaborate trap. As mentioned by the Treehouse, Samus does not begin the game with her gunship at the top of the planet like past games. Instead, she must escape the depths of ZDR and reach the gunship to escape, all while avoiding the E.M.M.I. There's no sign of the X-parasites despite that being the reason she was sent to the planet. They would have engulfed ZDR without the Metroid to contain them, as shown in Fusion. But ammo and health drop like normal and are not connected to absorbing unmorphed X. Unless the X is alive but in custody of the person in charge, I don't think the X are here at all. So who is the one in charge? Is it someone from the Federation, or is it the Chozo that was seen in the final 2 Chozo memories from Samus Returns and reappears in the Dread trailer? It's the first time a living Chozo has ever been featured in a Metroid game, but based on the memories, this Chozo isn't as benevolent as histories of the race recounts. He and his troops slaughtered his fellow Chozo on SR-388, but to what end is unknown. Perhaps he's the one who captured an X-Parasite, and likely a Metroid. I mean, Metroids have to be featured somehow, but this one character is where the conspiracy boards really come out. Who is he? What does he want? Does he have some kind of influence over the Federation? Is he a lone rogue Chozo, or are his armies still around? And why are the E.M.M.I hunting Samus? Is he the one after her, or is it the Federation? While I don't have many answers in regard to most of these questions, I do have one theory on why the E.M.M.I are hunting Samus. The Metroid Dread reports mention how the E.M.M.I were designed to extract DNA from unknown creatures. How do they extract that DNA? Well, it's likely the sharp, needle-like object that shoots out of them when they do capture her. It's obviously deadly, but there's more to this than just killing her. After all, Samus is the last known source of Metroid DNA thanks to the procedure that saved her from the X infection in Fusion. If the E.M.M.I can capture Samus and extract her DNA with that needle, then the Metroid could be cloned once again. It really feels like this latest SOS is just an elaborate trap for Samus. But is the Federation in on it, or has the Chozo taken over them somehow? Is that why they only appear in a specific area? The first E.M.M.I encountered, after all, is already severely damaged, indicating it fought something before Samus. And remember, this is from the very beginning of the game, and nothing Samus uses is effective. Whatever this E.M.M.I fought, it had some serious strength. And that means I gotta bring up the giant space dragon in the room. Could this E.M.M.I have fought a returning Ridley? It's impossible to say, but I'd bet good money on his return. Either way, the first E.M.M.I is only destroyed once Samus finds an Omega Cannon within its territory. It's a massive power boost, but sadly is only temporary. Even then, will one be enough for future E.M.M.I encounters, or will multiple cannons need to be found to finish the job? It's difficult to say for sure, but I think that would serve to make them a constant threat, especially as there's 7 in total. Each victory will feel that much more momentous. And speaking of the E.M.M.I, Samus's new suit really does feel reminiscent of them with the new white plating. Perhaps this suit was designed by a friend in the Federation? It does come across as an amalgamation, with the white from the E.M.M.I, the blue muscle-like tissue at the joints from the Fusion suit, and the chest piece, arm cannon, and helmet from the original power suit. I do think we'll meet this one friend who believed her, but whether they have a role in the story or just a nameless ally remains to be seen. There is one final thing to mention about how Samus obtains the Omega Cannon though. It's received from a central unit, which the Treehouse explains controls multiple areas of the planet as a biomechanical computer. They were being coy, but this thing is obviously another version of the Aurora units from Metroid Prime 3, and by extension, Mother Brain. This obviously isn't the only one, but I must once again ask, who's in control here? Is it the Federation, the Chozo, an alliance, the space pirates in some insane turn? I could see arguments for any of them, but there's no way the problems of Planet ZDR was caused by the X. And that may be the most exciting aspect of Metroid Dread for me. There's a real sense of mystery to what's really going on. Now, it could be an illusion as the Treehouse made sure to hide story aspects for fear of spoilers, but I'm hopeful that nothing will be spelled out for quite some time. I want Samus unable to trust anyone around her and not knowing where the enemy will come from next. And I think that will likely happen when even the Chozo statues in the save room appear foreboding. Thankfully, it won't be much longer until how it all comes together is revealed. But what do you think of Metroid Dread's story? Do you have any other differing theories? Let me know in the comments, and if you enjoyed this deep dive, please consider supporting us on Patreon at patreon.com/gvgaming so we can create more videos like this in the future. Of course, we appreciate all your support, whether it's just by hitting that like button, subscribing to Good Vibes Gaming, or ringing the bell. Until next time, bye!